Жоқ қойшы. Әлі. Жарайды.
So good morning, everyone. Once again, I'm pleased to welcome you all here. My name is Timurlan. I'm manager at the Science Fund, and today I'll be moderating the session. So our focus today will be on research and innovation opportunities within the Horizon Europe program, particularly in the critical mineral sector. So we'll first hear about a case study funded by the European Research Council, and then you'll also have the opportunity to learn about the Horizon Europe program, about the application process and requirements. So I'm pleased to introduce our first speaker, Nurjaz Akhirbek, a PhD researcher at the Erasmus University Notre Dame. She leads the Kazakhstan component of the Green Industrial Policy in the Age of Rare Materials project and brings over 7 years of experience in the mining industry. So welcome our first speaker. Close. So our second speaker is Fatiha Bakirova. She is from the International Cooperation Department at Science Fund, and she is also a graduate, School of Public Policy graduate here at NU. So she will talk more about the program itself and about the application process. So thank you. So each speaker, so the format of the session today, each speaker will begin with a short presentation, then I will ask a few questions to keep the conversation going, and then we'll open the floor up to the audience, to the Q&A session. And so let's start with Nurjaz, please, with your presentation.
Thank you. Сәлеметсіздер ме? Менің атым Нұржаз. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nurjaz Akhirbek. I'm a PhD researcher at Erasmus University, Rotterdam. And I'm working for a European Research Council project called Green Industrial Policy in the Age of Rare Metals. And now I'm a visiting researcher at the SDSN at the Nazarbayev University under the guidelines of Professor Serik. Thank you, Ms. Fatiha and Mr. Timmerland having me today. And thank you for Malika arranging venue for us. And thank you everyone for coming. Before I start, I want to share news with you. Just 2 weeks ago, Kazakh geologist announced the discovery of a massive rare earth deposit, estimated around 20 million tons of reserves. If confirmed, this would be one of the largest rare earth deposits in the world, putting Kazakhstan just behind China and Brazil in terms of reserves. This news shows us why critical raw materials are an important issue. Kazakhstan could sadly become a key supplier of materials for the global clean energy transition. However, turning underground resources into sustainable development above ground is not automatic. It requires good policies. To manage the resources, we need to build the supporting industries, protect the environment, and attract investment wisely. This is exactly where our ERC project questions comes in. How can countries like Kazakhstan design policies that turn such discoveries into inclusive growth, innovation, and green development? And how might partnerships with regions like Europe through Horizon Europe or the EU's new Critical Raw Material Act create win-win outcomes? Addressing these questions can help ensure that critical raw material truly support sustainable development, not just repeat the old resource extraction model. So how might partnerships, so our Grip Arm project also focuses on the connection between industrial policies and the urgent need for sustainable development. Everything depends on these critical raw materials, the rare earth element. Those rare earth elements, not some unfamiliar materials, they are fundamental to so much of the technology shaping our world today. You understand it better when you realize how common they are. They are rare earths like scandium, neodymium, and europium are key components of strong magnets used in wind turbines and electric vehicles. They are at the heart of the technology we are counting on for a greener future. And then you find them in the tiny part of your smartphone, even in vital defense systems. It really makes you wonder, how can countries blessed with these resources use smart industrial policy to not only grow their economics, but also help build a more sustainable and creative global future? That seems to be a big question we are looking at today. And to understand that, we first need to ask, what does industrial policy really mean? At its core, it's about government choosing to guide the growth of certain fields or industries. Think of it as a clear effort to shape the economic in a useful and critical way. Let's go through it slowly. It's a step away from a pure free market. It's the government saying we need more of this and then making a plan to make it happen. That's a simple way to say it. And in the past, this kind of action has led to big changes. Think about the fast growth in East Asia or the rise of high-tech sectors in the West. In many of these success stories, government policies played a fundamental role. What's interesting here is that industrial policy acts as a starter, bringing together vital components like investment, new tools, and crucially, a skilled workforce. So how exactly does this kind of policy lead to innovation? It might sound like a top-down approach, but it works through several connected paths. Path 1, set direction. Government can identify focus areas, sectors that are critical for future growth, like renewable energy or advanced battery technology. When they do this, they send a strong signal to the entire economy. The signal helps investors and researchers align their efforts. If a government clearly commits to electric vehicles, it motivates companies to invest in battery innovation and charging infrastructures. The second way industrial policy supports innovation is through direct investment in research and development, or R&D, and building up the skills we need. This might include government grants, tax incentives for R&D, specialized research centers, and educational programs to train scientists and engineers. In short, it's about nurturing talent and knowledges. The third way in the industrial policy drive innovation is by creating the right environment, like special economic zone, technological parks, or industrial clusters. In this ecosystem, companies, suppliers, startups, and university are all close together, able to collaborate and grow. Think of it as a carefully designed version of Silicon Valley. Industrial policy also use regulatory tools to support innovation, especially in new sectors that could mean temporary import protection or setting forward-looking standards like clean tech standards to push companies toward more innovative and sustainable solutions. So overall, it's a mix of rewards and rules, guiding the market in a useful direction. That's what we call a well-planned policy. At the same time, our research shows that industrial policy isn't magic. It takes careful planning, effective implementation, and the ability to adapt all things change. And with that foundational laid, that brings us to the specific challenge and opportunities of green industrial policy. In the era of rare earth metals, we are now talking about applying these policy tools to grow environmentally sustainable industries with rare earths as a key building block. However, as our research shows, these elements are essential for green technology, but the way we extract and processing them has historically been far from green, and it brings us to a major paradox. Green tech relies on dirty extraction. It really forces us to rethink the whole model. Because here's a conflict we face. We urgently need these materials for wind turbines, for electric vehicles, to fight climate change, yet the traditional way to getting them have caused serious environmental harm. Toxic waste, radioactive leftovers, damage natural habitats. So one of the core challenges for green industrial policy is how do we break that link? How do we build green technology without relying on dirty supply chains? We don't want to solve one problem and create another one in the process. On top of that, we face another major issue, supply chain dependence. For many countries and regions, making sure they have a reliable and diverse supply is a top concern that shapes how they think about industrial policy. Put simply, it's about not putting all your eggs in one basket when it comes to critical raw materials. At the same time, our research also looks at another key question: who owns the resources? For countries that hold rare earth deposit, what's the best approach? Just dig up the raw materials and export them? Or is there another option, one that involves doing more at home? For example, processing the materials locally, making components, even building final products. This is a classic dilemma for resource-rich country. We often call it the resource curse. The idea is nations with lots of natural resources often miss out on real development because they stop at just digging and exporting. Our research highlights the value of building domestic capabilities, adding value with the country. It's about moving forward, just in selling the rocks to producing magnets, making high-tech products, and keeping more of the value inside the economy. And here is the key. Industrial policy play a vital role in helping countries climb that value chain. But there is more to the story. One of the most critical aspects is sustainability and what our research calls the social license to operate. In today's world, just extracting resources isn't enough anymore. There's a growing pressure from local communities, from environment groups, and from increasingly aware buyers from companies and countries to adapt responsible mining practice. Green industrial policy has to respond to this. It must include stronger environmental rules, clear expectations for clear up mining site afterwards, and a real conversation with the local communities. They need to reach the people who live near this project and give them real benefits. Because without that social license, even the best laid mining plans can face serious pushback. They might be delayed, they might be protested, they might never happen at all. So this is a balancing act. We are talking about economic growth, environmental protection, and social responsibility all at once. At the same time, our research highlights how all of this plays out on a global scale. Because in rare earth space, we see a mix of cooperation and competition. On one hand, the key role these materials play in the green transition leads to intense competition. Countries are racing to secure supplies. They are signing country-to-country deals. They are investing in overseas minings. You even hear about export restrictions on certain technology. But on the other hand, climate change is shared challenge, and that means we also need global cooperation. We need to share best practice for recycling. We need to keep market open and fair. One effort that reflects to this is the EU's Critical Raw Material Act. It tried to build partnerships with resource-rich countries and create a more diverse, secure, and collaborative supply chain. We are seeing an interesting dynamics in how different countries approach rare earths. On one side, producer countries like China, Kazakhstan, and Brazil are using industrial policy to climb up the value chain or gain leverage in international partnerships. On the other side, consumer countries like the EU, Japan, and the United States are creating plans to secure long-term access to these critical raw materials. They are doing this by investing in domestic mining and by forming alliance and trade agreements with countries that have the resources. When we talk about producer countries, each one offers a different story. China is the dominant global player in rare earth production. It controls most of the supply chain, from extraction to processing to export. Brazil is still an emerging producer, but it shows increasing ambition to move up the value chain. Kazakhstan, with its newly discovered reserve, has the potential to become a major player if it chooses the right way and builds the right capabilities. Meanwhile, consumer countries are not just sitting back. Let's take US as an example. In March 2025, the Trump administration announced plans to expand access to critical raw materials. They even mentioned extend influence in Ukraine. What's striking here is these countries that used to only buy materials are now actively shaping the market. They are no longer just reacting, they are taking control of the rules of the game. So the central message is very clear here. With the well-designed, well-implemented policies, critical raw material can become foundation to sustainable growth and real innovation. And for a country like Kazakhstan, with its newly discovered reserves, the potential is enormous. It could be a green, innovative, and thriving future if it learns from global experiences and stays engaged on the international stage. In short, industrial policy can turn these materials into a cornerstone of development. But as we move forward, we need to think carefully about balance between national goals and our shared responsibility to protect the environment. After all, securing these materials isn't just about mining, isn't just about politics, it's about choices. And that brings me to one final thought. Where do we, as individual consumers, fit into this picture? Do our choices, what we buy, how we recycle, the kind of companies we support actually matter? Can our everyday decision make a difference? It's certainly something worth to think about. And in the end, please allow me to share a bit about my academic journey and how I come to be part of this ERC project. And I hope it might inspire some of you consider similar paths. I grew up witnessing the paradox that many resources-rich countries face. We have abundant natural resources, yet we often struggle with industrialization and sustainable growth. This reality motivated me early on to study economics and policy, especially with a focus on development. So when I saw a call for a PhD researcher on the Grape Arm ERC project, it feels like a perfect match. I applied, I went through a competitive select process, and fortunately, I was joined to the world-class team at Erasmus University. What started as academic curiosity soon became a real field work. I interviewed policymakers, visited mining towns, and studied how industrial policy are actually made on the ground. The ERC project gave me not only resources, but also access to a global network of researchers and decision makers. Here are 4 tips for future ERC applicants. First, start with a big question, addressing a global or regional challenges. Make it relevant, make it inspiring. Second, build a track record and collaborate. Join project earlier, try to publish and learn from experienced team. Third, know the funding landscape. explore ERC project, MSCI project, and the Horizon Europe course that match your idea and your career stage. 4, show interdisciplinary value and impact. Combine different perspectives and explain clearly how your work could inform policy or real-world practice. And where to find the structured PhD position if you are looking for fully funded PhD position with employment contracts. Start with these platforms like academic position and academic transfer. And actually, I found my own PhD position through academic transfer. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to the discussion and any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Narjas. I especially liked your line about when you solve one problem without creating another. I think it is really important nowadays that we should focus on not just solving a problem at all costs, but on sustainable development overall, especially with electric vehicles and artificial intelligence becoming more widespread. So thank you very much for this insightful presentation. And now I want to give floor to my colleague Fatiha Bakirova. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning. First of all, thank you for making it so early in the morning. I know it's a bit challenging, but I also applaud your commitment to learning about the green industrial policy, about grant opportunities under Horizon Europe. And I'm here to share and to speak on behalf of Aliya Simbayeva, the acting chairman of the Science Fund. Unfortunately, she had other commitments, urgent ones. So I will be speaking on her behalf. First of all, I would like to thank you, Nazarbayev University, SDSN, for organizing this event, for sharing the venue, and to our speakers for their very insightful presentation. I think it will be a really good field to start for the potential applicants. So with no further ado, I would like to get to the presentation itself. So first of all, for those who are not familiar with Horizon Europe program, it's a framework program, EU framework program on research and innovation. It's the 9th large program designed for supporting scientific and technological research, fostering innovation, international cooperation, and promoting overall sustainable development goals within the European Union and globally. So it's a great opportunity for you, for many researchers, to solve these global challenges on a global scale and get expertise and share your knowledge. So the budget for the program is 95.5 billion euros for the period from 2021-2027. And the goals of the program can be organized threefold. First of all is ensuring the economic, social, technological impact of EU investments in research and innovation, fostering competitiveness within European Union and beyond, and like we said, addressing global challenges in sustainable development. Now, unfortunately, you cannot see the header. It says the mechanism of the Horizon Europe program, which is very important to understand. When you design your applications, you should understand that the program is based on very strategic planning. So it starts with the overarching EU policy, for example, on European Green Deal or on digital transition. And after that, strategic plan is adopted for a couple of years. For example, the new strategic plan for 2025-2027 outlined 3 key orientations, such as digital, green transition, and building democratic societies. So the program is not only designed for technology or technical if you will, projects. It is also designed for social and, like we say, social studies, yes, as well. And these orientations go into the work program of the Horizon Europe. So each cluster, each destination of the program has its own work program, which is published. It's official. This year's work program has not been published yet, but we have the draft version, which we will review soon. And these work program include expected impacts and destinations which the project hopes to achieve. So each project under Horizon Europe should have technological, social, and economic effect. That way, the European Union or the European Commission ensures that the funding is well spent on for making impact. So the structure of the program is as follows. So there are three main components. First pillar one is individual-based projects, so individual-based grants. Some of you may be familiar with Marie Curie actions, which are mobility grants for doctoral and postdoctoral students. And there are also other grants, such as European Research Council, research infrastructures. These are mostly bottom-up projects where you can where researchers can propose their own ideas. And for pillar two, this is a large component. And this is basically where the international collaboration takes place. So there are, if I'm not mistaken, 6 clusters. It's organized in 6 clusters, such as health, culture, creativity, civil security, digital industry and space, climate, food, bioeconomy. Like we said, it supports diverse destinations and diverse projects. The third pillar and the second pillar is very similar to our program financing, program targeted financing. So these are collaborative projects, and the ideas are more of top down. So there is a technical specification, and you design your own solutions to these outlined specifications. So the second component is a collaborative project. Here, the participating organization should be arranged in an international consortia. And we will also talk about it later. And the third component is also individual based. It can be collaborative based as well. These are more of closer to market projects. They're innovative projects such as grants of European Innovation Council, European Innovation Ecosystems, and so on. The second, I have to say, the second pillar has the largest budget share as expected, and it supports diverse projects, like we said. So, since today's session is specifically focused on critical raw materials, and we wanted to gather the experts from this field, this is a small overview of the upcoming work program. This is from the draft version on the cluster industry, industry and space. So there are about 11 upcoming calls. And also what's more anticipated is that Kazakhstan is now part of the work program. So the call explicitly states that the actions have to collaborate with the Kazakhstani research organizations. So it will be written in the call specification. So here we can, maybe you cannot see very well. So the first innovative action. So when you look at the calls, you also have to differentiate what type of project it is. So for innovative actions, it's innovative projects similar to what Science Fund funds in Kazakhstan, commercialization projects or closer to market. So at the end of the project, should be expected that at least a small scale production is implemented. And then we see the budget, overall budget for 2025 for the first project is 24 million euros. And there are expected 4 indicative projects. So each project gets about 80 million euros. Another type of projects or actions, as they are called in Horizon Europe, is co-fund. So if innovative actions and other types applying organizations, if there are state or non-for-profit organizations, they get 100% funding. Then for co-fund, it is the funding rate is usually around 40 to 50%. We have to consider that. However, for other types of actions, the funding is not always 100%. For example, if you're applying as an SME or some kind of private company, basically for profit, then the funding rate is around 70%. So the rest you have to co-finance. This is the rest of the calls. And here we can see another type of project, RIA or Research and Innovation Actions. These are, unlike innovation actions, research type of projects. So the requirements are different. It can be around, if speaking in technology readiness level, it's around 3 to 6 TRL is expected. And there is a call also which is highlighted, CSA or Coordination and Support Action. This is actually the call where Kazakhstan is mentioned to participate. So the Coordination Support Action, it's a type of project which is not research and it is not also innovation. It combines both. It's more of a coordination, information dissemination, organizing of trainings. So it's also very interesting project, but in terms of duration, they differ. For example, for research and innovation action, they are quite long projects. It can take up to 48 months. For coordination projects, they usually last less. Should be mentioned in the call. I think we've covered all the calls. Now let's look at the specific call with the requirement for Kazakhstani participation. It's called Strategic Partnership on Raw Materials, Innovative Approaches for Sustainable Procedures of Critical Raw Materials. So it's an innovation action type of call, and the expected EU contribution is 7.5 million euros. With the overall budget for this call, as you know, there may be several projects, is 30 million. And for eligibility criteria, you can see that eligibility conditions, I think it says, they're usually described in the specific call page. So these are some general requirements. What should we look at as well is technology readiness level. So project should achieve TRL 6 to 7 by the end of the project. And for procedures, so the call also mentions other countries, other groups of countries. They are arranged in 4 groups. So we will move forward and come back to this point later. So what else you should look at the expected outcome? Expected outcome is what the EU hopes to achieve with this project. So here we can see the mention of the EU Critical Raw Materials Act, which means that in your proposals, in your consortium proposals, you should target this, meaning that it should be in your KPIs, your project KPIs, how you're going to contribute to the Critical Raw Materials Act. And on the right, we have the scope. the scope, which basically explains what is the call about. So here we can see that actions are expected to develop and demonstrate extraction, processing, and refining technologies in order to facilitate and increase recovery and exploitation of primary critical raw materials, which are minerals and metals only. So this is the technology that is expected to be developed by the end of the project. And below, we can also see actions have to collaborate with selected partnerships. So the countries which have strategic cooperation agreement with EU in the field of critical raw materials, and Kazakhstan has signed. Kazakhstan was among the first countries to sign it in 2022. It's a signed memorandum on cooperation on understanding in critical materials, batteries and hydrogen, if I'm not mistaken. And Kazakhstan, as you can see, is among the Central Asian countries. Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, I mentioned, is Group 3. So back to the point on the procedure. Here it says that to ensure a balanced portfolio of the projects will not be selected based on the highest rated applications. So they will be selected as from each group. So the best project from each group will be selected. I think this gives a good opportunity for participation. And with this, I would like to wrap up my speech. And I give the floor back to you.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I hope the audience gathered some insights and understand about the process of applying to the Horizon Europe program. I want to ask a first question to Fatiha, and building on your presentation, how can the National Coordination Center assist researchers from Kazakhstan in applying to the program?
Science Fund was appointed by the order of or decree of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education as the National Coordination Center for EU framework programs. And in this capacity, Science Fund supports local academia by informing, first of all, the main function is awareness raising and informing of the program and organizing specific workshops and trainings at request. So all the workshops and trainings are posted on our social networking sites, such as Facebook, Instagram, and recordings can be found on a YouTube channel. If you type just in Russian, Fond Nauki, it will come up. The channel will come up and you can see the recordings of the previous workshops and trainings. Also, we're open for any communication you may have, maybe some technical questions on participation, maybe some partner search support. You can write us directly on email, which is horizon.europe@science-fund.kz. And all the upcoming events, Science Funds also organizes or co-organizes the events, brokerage events for finding partners, for applying for the projects. And these events are posted on the social media, such as Instagram, Facebook. And since the establishment National Coordination Center in Kazakhstan in 2023 has organized series of workshops, namely 7 webinars and 5 offline seminars with around 350 attendees. And since the beginning in 2023, we first familiarized with the program, and then we established a network of coordinators based at universities of Kazakhstan, which can support you, which can provide some guidance in your proposal writing in some cases. And so this is how we work. Basically, you contact the coordinators by clusters, depending on which direction you would like to take, depending on which research area you're interested in. For ourselves, for basically cooperation with EU, and based on strategic cooperation agreements with foreign countries, with EU specifically, we have delineated 3 priority areas such as mining and processing of rare earth minerals, agriculture, and sustainable energy. However, we also support researchers in other areas. So I think.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Now I want to ask direct my question to Njas. So you're doing your field work in Kazakhstan, and I want to ask you what are the key challenges and opportunities while studying sustainable development in Kazakhstan's mining sector?
Thank you for your question. Actually, I think I'm very lucky that I got a lot of support from Nazarbayev University, from Science Fund. And actually, I come to Kazakhstan. This is already the 5th time for my field work. But every time I got a lot of interview, and I got chance to interview high-level policymaker like ambassadors, like ministries, like high-level officers. So to be honest, I didn't meet a lot of challenges, but I really want to thank you. Thanks to all this organization. I think if you are a researcher in Kazakhstan, you are doing project in Kazakhstan, actually you will got a lot of support than other country because Kazakhstan really want to support this research and academic area. So I think it's already good enough for researcher to do field work here. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to maybe open up the floor to the audience. If you have any questions about the case study that Nurjaz is doing, or maybe the Horizon Europe program overall, you can ask your questions. Yes, please.
Русском, да? То есть, смотрите, в программе могут участвовать как юридические, так и физические лица, но у физического лица должна быть регистрация в какой-либо организации. Потому что applicant, то есть заявитель, должен быть обязательно юридическим лицом. То есть он подтверждает организация подтверждает его участие в системе, она регистрируется, получает PIC номер, Participant Identification Code, и с ним участвует. То есть могут участвовать разные компании. Это могут быть неправительственные, могут быть частные МСП, да, то есть, но в любом случае он должен быть в консорциуме, и должны быть, как вы говорили, должен быть один партнер из ЕС в консорциуме. Это может быть научный сотрудник, но он должен базироваться, официально быть трудоустроен, да, в организации научной. То есть по составу консорциума таких требований нет. Наоборот, это как бы плюс иметь разносторонний консорциум. Например, кто-то из частной. Это наоборот, то есть есть требования к dissemination, exploitation, да, к концу проекта. То есть результаты не должны лежать на полке, они должны быть применены, то есть introduced into market. И поэтому участие МСП как раз в этом может быть плюсом. Да, как раз вот ЕС принял Critical Raw Materials Act или Critical Materials Act, да, они для себя определили именно перечень наиболее стратегически важных материалов, которые необходимы, то есть сырьевых материалов, которые необходимы для диверсификации их, то есть поставщиков, то есть their source countries. То есть именно развитие, да. Мгм. Да. А в целом, я забыла упомянуть, у нас по требованиям к участникам. То есть any legal entity can participate regardless of the place of establishment, including legal entities from non-associated third countries or international organizations. So Kazakhstan is in the context of EU, it's not member state or associated states, a third country, and Kazakhstan is fully eligible to participate and get funding from EU as part of the Horizon Europe and other framework programs. However, it should be in the consortium of at least 3 legal entities. So a consortium should consist of 3 organizations, independent of each other, so from different states, and at least one of them should be EU member state. And the rest, 2 can be from associated countries. The list is also on the website of Horizon Europe. A list of associated countries includes, if I'm not mistaken, Canada, Yes, UK includes, and also Armenia and Turkey, Ukraine. So with the full list, you can familiarize on the website of Horizon Europe. And not binding requirement, but plus will be to have shared research history. So you should consider, first of all, your existing partners, because the evaluators want to see that you have previously conducted research together and that there will be no problems with the ongoing during the project. So it's a kind of a advantage for the consortium to have a shared research history. So the main, the first step to apply is, of course, to get to know the program and to establish your account, your personal account on EU portal, and your company registration to get a PIC number, and contact your partners, your existing partners, or find new partners from EU member state. So these are the key steps. Программа будет опубликована вот в апреле. The program will be published in April, is expected to be published with for different clusters. And the calls are mentioned also in the work program. So the dates, the deadlines, the periods. Another important aspect is to apply or consider projects which have at least half a year before closing. Because this consortium coordination, finding partners, drafting proposals is also work. Therefore, for proper time management, we advise to look at the calls, to consider the calls with at least 6 months duration. Yes, you have a question. Up to you. You mean the calls you mentioned? Мгм. Нет, это то есть глобальная программа, поэтому это будет на одном уровне с мировыми организациями научными. То есть это it's a global program. But you have the advantage because you are applying as a consortium. If you have strong consortium members, you get higher chances of getting approval for the project. Kazakhstan, as far as I'm concerned, cannot be a coordinator in the EU projects. Да, то есть координатором выступать казахстанские организации не могут, но они могут получать финансирование и быть партнерами проекта, консорциуме, да. Да, they are PI, basically. Any more questions? Yes. And Kazakhstan will join as fourth organization, yes. I'm saying minimum 3, but in most projects, in most cases, there are up to 10 or 20 consortium members, companies. Usually depends on the budget and on the intensiveness of the project.
Thank you for your questions. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, I think establishment Science Fund as a coordinator is a very smart choice because it's a legal entity and it's an agency on par with other science funding agencies. And they usually contact us. They look for partners, especially in such industrial projects. We organize brokerage sessions, like short calls with we look at of course, the organization's capabilities. First of all, if they match, then we so put them in contact. That's how we work usually. So if you have any, I'm sorry. So if you have any interest, if you have a project, you can contact us. If you don't have a partner, we can put you with partners. So if you just state your will to participate and you have a real example of a project which you can apply, then we can organize a session too. Yes. You had a question. For innovation action projects. So it depends on the project type. It's usually mentioned. For the whole consortium, the same result, the same output. If I get your question right. Yes, for most calls, it should be implemented in Europe. Yes, because they are from obviously EU funding, so they should be applied in Europe. However, it's a good opportunity to share research infrastructures, to share knowledge, and yes, it's up to negotiations within the consortium. So after you find the call, you find partners, you also, before designing the proposal, you also draft a consortium agreement where all of these clauses, all these the terms are explicitly mentioned. Yes. Yes, yes, definitely. But in most calls, it's mentioned that it should be, it should stay within Europe. So basically, the results. Of course, you can disseminate the results here, but mostly, I think they are. Yes, we need to confirm this. Yes. So it's, yeah, basically to inform, yes, to inform, yeah. It's a mostly, it's not a fee-based. It's a, in some countries it is a fee-based. For example, if I'm not mistaken, UKRI charges for this consultation, but we provide this advice free of charge, and we can support in informing, like I said. In some cases, it depends on our coordinators if they have the how to say, experience on applying, they can advise on proposal writing. So these are all upcoming workshops we are going to organize on proposal writing. For now, it's mostly informing because we first of all need to get the numbers on participation. So increase the awareness. Yes, we need to look into that. Yeah, we get these questions. Yes, Malika, by the way, is the national coordinator for the cluster of industry. Climate mobility.
Climate mobility.
and
Know if
transport.
it works. So I'm Malika Tajmuratova. I work here at SDSN, Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and I recently was appointed as a national contact point for Cluster 5, Climate Mobility Energy. So if you, since you have come to this workshop, which is on critical minerals, I guess you are interested in this Cluster 5 specifically. So you can contact me on any questions regarding the rules, regulations, how to apply to the EU Horizon Europe program. And regarding your question, on April 2021, or on May 2021, we will have a brokerage event organized in Almaty. So it will be in hybrid format, online too, so you can join us online. So there will be European partners who will be coming from Europe. Also, we will have our coordinator from Georgia. She has a very extensive experience in coordinating Horizon Europe programs in Georgia for 8 years. So she can consult you on how to, no, I mean on the general rules, regulations and everything. And also we will have some more information on the cluster 5 because in May, I guess on 5th of May, there will be published a new work program for all clusters, not only cluster 5. So there will be information on all the calls, the deadlines, and regarding the consortium, yes, it's regulated that there should be 3 organizations, but from my experience, I have been here for 6 months, the more the better. I mean, the more organizations in the consortium, the better. So you try to find as more partner organizations in Europe as you can. If you have already participated in Horizon 2020, yes, the previous wave of Horizon Europe, it's even like will be advantage for you. Also, you can try to establish connections with maybe other European organizations or universities which you had like partnership with from your previous work or from like previous connections. So it can make your application stronger and make your like chances for winning the grant higher. So yeah. Please join. I think I can disseminate to your emails when you have registered all the information on the upcoming brokerage event, and please join us online. Yeah.
Dear audience, are there any other questions? Yes, there are 5 coordinators in universities. Yes, we have, for example, for digital industry and space in East Kazakhstan Technical University, And we can provide a detailed information like a contact upon your request if you write on to our email. If you have any specific questions regarding participation, you have an outlined topic, you went on the website, found the call, then we can put you in contact with coordinators. And like I said, the program is set to be published in April. So I want to wish you best of luck. Just monitor the website for the work program frequently. And also the funding and tenders portal where all these calls are published. So first they are published in the work program and then they are published in the funding and tenders portal where you can find them. Thank you everyone for participating today. And if you have any questions, please write us an email. Thank you.